So at this point, I started working on the bear quilt again, the one that's supposed to go over our bed. Right here, I'm working on the little stars that are in the corners and basically just chain piecing to get them done. It's nice having those boards to have everything laid out so you can just pick up things quickly and chain piece them. I always thought that they would be handy, but until I got the ones from my sister-in-law, Carolyn, I didn't realize how handy they really were. So thanks again, Carolyn. And then, yay, my blocks are done. So now I have them, I'm laying the pieces out on the batting pieces that I have. And I'm going to cut the batting so that it's getting ready to do the quilting. And again, I'm doing quilt as you go. So I need pieces for each of them. I was really happy to find in my batting scraps pieces that were just the right size. So I was pretty much able to use them with very little waste, and I actually had enough. Barely, but I had enough. It's nice our little rug there has just enough texture. It kind of holds the batting so I don't have to worry about taping the batting down. So I'm laying out my quilt pieces so that I can cut out my backgrounds. And I do have enough of this fabric, but it is directional. And in order to have all of the trees facing upward, I would have to piece some instead of just laying it out and whacking pieces off. And I don't like that. So I realized I have just as much of this fabric with the pine cones, which I think will be very appropriate. So I'm going to lay it out on that fabric and cut out my pieces. And then of course I have to cut the backing pieces. So I get this all laid out. It is nice to have a fabric that works so nicely for the backing. And it's something I've had for quite a while and I haven't used it, so it's nice to be able to use it and use it up. And then after getting them cut, I have to layer them backing down, and then the batting, and then the panel on top, and then I'm pin basting. I have for a long time just used spray based. I started on a quilt that I had done, a really, really large one that I had done one of the Craftsy classes for, and she showed spray basting, and I loved it. It was great. I don't know how I would have done the big quilt on my domestic machine without it, and so I just got in the habit of using it all the time. But I realized when I had done a last small project, and it was a windy day, and I had problems with the batting getting stuck on the bonding agent. It's like, I'm spending more time trying to make this basting work on a small quilt. I think pin basting would actually be faster. So for the bear quilt, I'm doing pin basting. And my counter is like just the perfect size for that. So I get all the pins set up, and then I have a quilt clip tool, which is in my left hand there. It's kind of hard to see, but I use that for closing the pins. I'm getting ready to start quilting on the bear panel, and for starters I'm just going to go around the border and just kind of stabilize this, and then I can take the outside pins out. That'll just help keep things from shifting around. So I'm going to use my walking foot for starters, and this is just going to be a quick and easy thing. I know that some people, when they talk about machine quilting a quilt, they will tell you to start in the middle of the quilt and work your way out. And so working from the outside in is actually another thing that I learned on that Craftsy class. Because if you do the outside edge, that area is then stable. And so then when you go to the next little section inside, you're not fighting a bunch of stuff that may ripple or may shift or may get, sometimes the backing fabric will fold over and you won't notice it, and then you stitch a whole bunch with it underneath, and then you have to take out all those stitches. And so I have just, ever since then, I go from that outside, working my way in, and it's always worked really well. And then when I get to the free motion part of this, since it's not regularly pieced, like if you have regular blocks, you would do the outside border first. Then you would do like the first section of blocks all the way around. So you're, again, stabilizing everything as you go in. With free motion, it's a little bit different. And so I try to do kind of one section at a time. This one with the bear, I have to do the outline first. But then that's kind of my original section. And then I'll keep kind of breaking it into smaller pieces as I go. So each area should be fairly stable as I'm working on it. The other panel that I had that was the deer for my deer quilt that I took on our trip, that one was actually really easy to do the free motion quilting on because there were so many different things in the panel to trace around with the thread. It made it very easy to get the stitching close enough. This one I think is going to be a little trickier. There we go. And I had realized when I started, I usually check my bobbin and wind an extra one before I start doing any quilting. And I didn't think to do that, so I wasn't sure if I was going to run out or not. So it's nice to get that done, and then the next part will be free motion quilting, which will be interesting. I'll go around the bear, and I don't know what else I'll do. I'm going to have to kind of figure that out as I go. But I'm stopping there for right now. And in the meantime, I did get my hand project done. I've called this little quilt Summer. I'm very excited to have it done, and it's so nice to see it hanging up on my wall while it still is summer. Not a whole lot of it left anymore, but there's still a little bit of summer left. The only problem, of course, is now I have to start another new hand project. Not a bad problem.